Clara, we need to talk. I looked up from my laptop where I'd been working on my business presentation, the one that could secure the Miller Industries contract I'd been chasing for months. Mum stood in my bedroom doorway, her face wearing that familiar expression of barely concealed irritation mixed with forced patience. Can it wait? I have the biggest pitch of my career tomorrow morning. No, it can't wait. She stepped inside, closing the door behind her with deliberate care, the kind of care that meant whatever came next would shatter something. I saved my work and turned to face her fully. 24 years old, and I still felt like a child under her disapproving gaze. Your father and I have made a decision about the house. My blood went cold. What about the house? We're giving it to Elena. The words hit me like a physical blow. I gripped the edge of my desk, my knuckles going white. Giving it to Elena? Mum, you promised me. When Grandma died, you said I would inherit her house because I was the one who took care of her for 3 years while she was sick. Elena needs it more. She's getting married to Robert next month, and they need somewhere to start their lives together. I need it too. I've been saving every penny to buy my own place, but with these property prices, you're doing fine, Clara. You have your little consulting business. Little? The word exploded out of me. Mum, I made 6 figures last year. She waved dismissively. Elena is starting a family. She needs stability. I stared at her, really stared, and suddenly every memory came rushing back in crystal clarity. Elena getting my college fund because she's more social. She'll make better use of a university experience. Elena getting Dad's car when she turned 16 while I rode the bus. Elena getting my job recommendation at Davidson and Associates because she needs the opportunity more than you do, Clara. You're so capable. You'll find something else. Every time I'd swallowed my disappointment. Every time I'd told myself they were just being fair, just helping Elena because she struggled more than me. Every time I'd worked twice as hard to prove I deserved something, only to watch it handed to my younger sister like she was entitled to everything I'd earned. This is about more than the house, isn't it? My voice came out deadly quiet. Mum's eyes flickered just for a second, with something that looked almost like guilt. I don't know what you mean. The trust fund. Her face went pale. Grandma Rose's trust fund, the one she set up specifically for me because I spent every weekend with her from age 12 to 21. The one that's supposed to unlock when I turn 25 next month. Clara, you're giving that to Elena too, aren't you? The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Your sister has had a harder time adjusting to adult life. Stop. I stood up so fast my chair rolled backward and hit the wall. Just stop lying to me. We're not lying. We're being practical. Elena needs to grow up. The words ripped out of me, 3 decades of suppressed fury finally breaking free. She's 22 years old, Mum. When I was 22, I was working 60-hour weeks to build my business while putting myself through night school to finish my degree. What's Elena doing? She's planning her wedding to a man whose biggest accomplishment is managing a GameStop. That's enough. No, it's not enough. It's never enough, is it? Nothing I do will ever be enough to matter in this family. My mother's face hardened into the cold mask I knew so well. Elena is gentle. She needs protection. She needs help. You've always been capable, independent. You don't need us the way she does. So I get punished for being strong? You're not being punished. You're being asked to understand that some people need more support. For 24 years, I've watched you hand my life to my sister, piece by piece, and I've never said a word. But this? I grabbed my laptop and clutched it against my chest. This ends it. What do you mean? I looked at my mother, really looked at her and saw a stranger, someone who had systematically destroyed her own daughter's life to prop up her favourite child. I mean, I'm done. I'm done being the sacrificial lamb for Elena's happiness. I'm done pretending this is normal. I'm done being your family's backup plan. Clara, you're being dramatic. Am I? I laughed, and the sound was bitter and sharp. Let me ask you something, Mum. If Elena died tomorrow, would you suddenly start caring about me? Or would you spend the rest of your life mourning the daughter who mattered while barely noticing the one who survived? Her face went white, then red. How dare you? How dare I what? Tell the truth? Your sister loves you. No, she doesn't. The words came out calm now, settled with absolute certainty. Elena tolerates me. Elena takes what's mine because she's been taught that she deserves it. And you know what? That's fine. She can have it all. I walked to my closet and pulled out the suitcase I bought for business trips. What are you doing? I'm leaving. Clara, don't be ridiculous. Where will you go? I stopped packing and turned to face her one last time. You know what's funny? You've spent so much energy making sure Elena has everything she needs. You never bothered to notice what I was building. Did you know I have 3 major clients lined up for next quarter? Did you know Davidson and Associates has been trying to headhunt me for 6 months? Did you know I've been house hunting in the hills? Her mouth opened and closed silently. Of course you didn't know, because you've never asked about my life unless you needed something from it to give to Elena. I threw clothes into my suitcase with mechanical precision. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to take that Miller Industries contract tomorrow. I'm going to use it to launch the biggest expansion my company has ever seen. And in exactly 1 year, I'm going to own a penthouse that's worth more than this entire neighborhood. Clara. And from my floor-to-ceiling windows, I'm going to watch this family implode. My mother stepped toward me, her hand outstretched. You don't mean that. I zipped up my suitcase and met her eyes. Elena can have Grandma's house. She can have the trust fund. She can have every single thing that was supposed to be mine, but she can't have my future. I walked past my mother toward the door. And when your precious golden daughter realizes she married a loser who can't support her, when the money runs out, when the house needs repairs she can't afford, when real life hits her for the first time ever, don't call me. Clara, please. I paused at the threshold of my childhood bedroom and looked back one last time at the woman who had given birth to me but had never been my mother. You made your choice 24 years ago. Now live with it. The slam of the front door behind me felt like the closing of a book I'd never wanted to read. But as I threw my suitcase into the back seat of my car and drove away from the only home I'd ever known, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Freedom. The city lights blurred past my windows as I headed toward the downtown hotel where I'd booked a room for the night. Tomorrow, I would crush the Miller Industries presentation. Tomorrow, I would begin building an empire. And someday, very soon, I would stand in my penthouse and watch the people who had destroyed me destroy themselves. The game was just beginning. 6 months later, I signed the lease on my downtown penthouse with hands that barely trembled as I wrote my name. 43rd floor, corner unit, floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking the entire valley where my family lived in their modest suburban neighborhood. The Miller Industries contract had been just the beginning. Miss Hartwell? My assistant knocked on my temporary office door. The Davidson and Associates executives are here for the merger discussion. Send them in, Katie. I straightened my blazer and smiled. 6 months ago, they'd tried to headhunt me. Now, they were begging me to buy them out. Funny how quickly tables could turn when you stopped playing defense and started playing to win. The meeting lasted 3 hours. When they left, I owned Davidson and Associates' client list, their contracts, and their reputation. All the opportunities they'd given Elena instead of me? Now, they worked for me. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Clara, it's Elena. Can we talk, please? I deleted it without responding and turned to look out my temporary office window. From here, I could see the hills where my penthouse waited, half furnished and gleaming like a promise. My real phone rang. Hartwell Consulting. Clara? The voice was hesitant, familiar, my father. This is a business line, Dad. We haven't heard from you in months. I've been busy. I pulled up my bank statements on my computer screen. The numbers still amazed me. How's Elena's marriage going? The pause stretched long enough that I knew something was wrong. She's adjusting. Adjusting to what? Robert lost his job last month. The GameStop he managed got shut down when the mall restructured. They're having trouble making the mortgage payments on your grandmother's house. My grandmother's house. Even now he couldn't bring himself to say Eleanor's house. That's unfortunate. Clara, she's your sister. Is she? I leaned back in my chair, watching the construction workers putting the finishing touches on the building where I'd lived like a queen. Because sisters share things, don't they? Sisters support each other. Sisters don't steal everything that matters from each other. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. There's a difference. She needs help. Of course she did. Eleanor always needed help. I'm sure the trust fund will cover their expenses. Another long pause. Longer this time. Dad? The trust fund is... There were some complications. I stopped looking at the construction site and focused entirely on his voice. What kind of complications? Your mother thought it would be better to invest it rather than just let it sit in the bank. Eleanor's wedding was expensive, and with Robert not working. You spent my trust fund on Eleanor's wedding. It was an investment in her future. How much is left? Silence. How much is left, Dad? About 15,000. 15,000. Out of the $250,000 my grandmother had saved for my future. I should have been furious. I should have screamed, threatened lawyers, demanded justice. Instead, I started laughing. Clara, are you all right? I'm perfect, Dad. Absolutely perfect. I don't understand. Of course you don't. I pulled up my investment portfolio on another screen. Just today's gains were more than what they'd left me from my inheritance. Tell me something. When you spent my money on Eleanor's wedding, did you think I'd never find out? Or did you think I'd just accept it the way I accepted everything else? We hoped you'd understand that family means making sacrifices. Family. I tasted the word like poison. You know what family means to me now, Dad. Family means the people who celebrate your success instead of stealing it. Family means the people who build you up instead of tearing you down to make someone else feel better. Clara, please. Elena is struggling. Robert can't find work, and the house payments are not my problem. She's pregnant. The words hit me like ice water. Eleanor was pregnant. Of course she was. The golden child would have golden babies, and my parents would have golden grandchildren to spoil while continuing to ignore me. Congratulations, I said flatly. Clara, a baby changes everything. Elena needs stability now more than ever. If you could just help with the house payments until Robert finds something. No, just temporarily. No, you're her sister. And you're my father. The words exploded out of me before I could stop them. You're supposed to protect me, support me, be proud of me. Instead, you've spent 24 years treating me like an ATM for Eleanor's dreams. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed again, but this time it was sharp enough to cut. Dad, let me tell you about Fair. Fair is earning $250,000 in 6 months through my own hard work, while Eleanor sits at home spending money she didn't earn. Fair is buying a penthouse with my own success while she loses the house you stole from me. Fair is building an empire, while you watch your precious golden daughter realize she married a failure? Clara. I'm done, Dad. I'm done being the family scapegoat. I'm done financing Elena's mistakes. I'm done pretending that love means letting people walk all over you. If you don't help her, she could lose everything. Good. The word fell between us like a blade. I want her to lose everything. I want her to feel what I felt every time you handed my life to her. I want her to understand what it's like to work for something only to watch it disappear because someone else decided they deserved it more. You don't mean that. I mean every word. I stood up and walked to my window, looking out at the city I was conquering piece by piece. Elena can figure out how to survive on her own. Maybe it's time she learned what the rest of us have always known. The world doesn't owe you anything just because you're pretty and helpless. Clara, she's family. No, Dad. She's your daughter. I'm just the child you kept around to make Elena feel better about herself. I ended the call and immediately blocked his number. Katie knocked again. Miss Hartwell, the penthouse decorator is here with the final furniture selections. Perfect timing. An hour later, I stood in my new living room as workers assembled a dining table that cost more than Robert's monthly salary. The view from my windows was breathtaking. The entire city spread out below me like a kingdom. My phone buzzed with another text from Elena. Clara, please. I know we hurt you, but I need you. The baby is due in 6 months and we might lose the house. I'm scared. I read it twice, then walked to my floor-to-ceiling windows. Somewhere out there, 30 miles away in our old neighbourhood, my sister was learning what fear felt like, what uncertainty felt like, what it felt like to need someone who might say no. Instead of deleting the text, I typed back, "You should be scared. But don't worry, the house you stole from me will still be valuable when you lose it. Maybe the new owners will take better care of Grandma Rose's garden than you did." Her response came immediately. "Please don't do this. I love you." I typed back, "Love isn't taking everything from someone and then asking for more. What you're feeling now isn't love, it's panic. Get used to it." Then I blocked her number 2. The sun was setting over the city, painting everything gold and crimson. I poured myself a glass of wine that cost more than Elena's wedding dress and raised it to the window. To family, I said to the empty penthouse that would soon be filled with everything I'd built for myself. And to getting exactly what you deserve. Tomorrow, I had 3 new client meetings scheduled. By next month, I'd be expanding internationally. And 30 miles away, Elena would be learning that the real world was a lot colder than the protective bubble my parents had built around her. The game was accelerating, and I was winning. 3 months later, I hosted my first dinner party in the penthouse. 23 floors below, the city sparkled like diamonds scattered across black velvet. My guests included the mayor, 3 city council members, and the CEO of Northstone Development, the company that owned half the commercial real estate in the valley. "Clara, this view is extraordinary," Mayor Davidson said, raising his champagne glass toward the windows. "You can see everything from up here." "That's exactly why I chose it," I replied, my eyes automatically finding the cluster of lights that marked my old neighbourhood. Somewhere in that distant glow, Elena was probably awake with worry about tomorrow's foreclosure hearing. I'd made sure to learn about it, of course. Information was power, and power was everything. "I have to ask," Councilwoman Wright leaned closer, "the Henderson Valley rezoning project. Are you really planning to bid on that entire district?" "I don't plan, Councilwoman. I execute." I smiled and refilled her glass. "But yes, Henderson Valley is ripe for development. All those old suburban neighbourhoods with their outdated infrastructure and declining property values. Perfect for commercial redevelopment. Henderson Valley, where my parents' house sat 3 blocks from my grandmother's house. Where Elena was about to lose everything. The residents won't be happy about losing their homes, the mayor warned. The residents who can't afford their mortgages anymore. I shrugged elegantly. Market forces don't care about sentiment. Besides, we'll be creating jobs, bringing in revenue, modernising the area. Sometimes progress requires difficult choices. My phone buzzed. A text from my private investigator. Robert Michaels arrested tonight. DUI, hit and run. Bail set at $50,000. Thought you'd want to know. I excused myself and stepped onto my private balcony. The November air was crisp, and the city lights seemed especially bright tonight. Perfect weather for watching a family implode. Another text arrived, this one from an unknown number. Clara, it's Mum. Elena's in the hospital. Robert crashed the car. She's 8 months pregnant, and they don't know if the baby is okay. Please, I am begging you, we need help. I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it. Then I blocked that number too. When I returned to my guests, City Council member Harrison was examining one of my financial magazines on the coffee table. Hartwell Consulting is really making waves. I saw the article about your international expansion. We're opening offices in London and Tokyo next quarter, I confirmed. Sometimes you have to think bigger than the people around you ever imagined possible. The evening ended with handshakes, business cards, and promises of future collaborations. As the last guest left, I poured myself another glass of wine and settled into my leather chair facing the windows. My laptop showed the live security feed from the hospital parking lot, where my mother's car sat in the emergency section. She'd been there for 6 hours now, probably wondering why her eldest daughter, the one she'd trained to fix every family crisis, wasn't rushing to Elena's bedside. The irony was delicious. For years, I'd been the family's problem solver, the one who sacrificed everything to keep Elena comfortable. Now, when they needed me most, I was exactly where they'd taught me to be, invisible. At midnight, my secure phone rang, my private investigator again. Clara? Thought you'd want an update. Go ahead. Elena lost the baby. Premature delivery, complications from the accident. The baby lived for 2 hours. I closed my eyes and felt nothing. Where sympathy should have been, there was only cold satisfaction. And Elena, stable but devastated. Robert's looking at serious jail time. The hit and run victim is in critical condition. With his record, he's looking at 5 to 10 years minimum. Perfect. There's more. Your parents just took out a second mortgage on their house to cover Robert's bail and legal fees. They're already 2 months behind on their first mortgage. I opened my laptop and checked the Northstone development files. How much do they owe total? Including the new loan, about $400,000 on a house worth maybe $250,000 in the current market. Underwater by $150,000. Beautiful. I pulled up the foreclosure listings for Henderson Valley. My parents' house wasn't on it yet, but it would be soon. What about Elena? Medical bills are already at $40,000 and climbing. No insurance. Robert got fired before his benefits kicked in. She's physically recovered enough to go home, but home is about to be repossessed. Exactly. After ending the call, I walked to my windows and looked out at the city I was reshaping with my success. Somewhere down there, my family was learning what I'd known my entire life, that the world was a cold, unforgiving place where love meant nothing without power to back it up. My phone buzzed with another text from yet another unknown number. Clara, this is Elena. I know you probably hate me, but my baby is dead and I have nowhere else to turn. Robert is in jail. Mom and Dad are losing their house. I'm so sorry for everything we did to you. Please, I just need someone to tell me it's going to be okay. I read it 3 times, then typed back, it's not going to be okay. It's going to get much worse. But don't worry, you'll learn to survive. I did. Her response came immediately. I don't understand why you hate us so much. I poured myself another glass of wine and composed my reply carefully. I don't hate you, Elena. Hate implies you matter enough to generate strong emotions. What I feel for you is disappointment. You had every advantage in life handed to you, and you've accomplished nothing. You married a loser, lost a baby because of his stupidity, and now you're exactly where I was at 18, alone and broke with no one to help you. The difference is I turned my pain into power. You'll just turn yours into excuses. Please, Clara, I'll do anything. There's nothing you have that I want anymore. You already gave me the greatest gift possible. What gift? You showed me exactly who I never wanted to become. I blocked that number and opened my development plans for Henderson Valley. Phase 1 would begin in 18 months, right after the foreclosure crisis peaked and property values hit rock bottom. I'd buy the entire neighbourhood for pennies on the dollar, demolish everything, and build a commercial complex that would generate millions in revenue. My grandmother's house would become a parking lot, my parents' house would become a Starbucks, and Elena would be someone else's problem, somewhere else, learning what it meant to rebuild a life from nothing. The next morning, I had breakfast on my balcony while reading the financial news. Hartwell Consulting had been featured in 3 major publications this week. Forbes was calling me the millennial mogul who's redefining success. If they only knew that my success was built on the ashes of every dream my family had stolen from me. My assistant called at 9. Miss Hartwell, Channel 7 wants to interview you about the Henderson Valley Development Project. They're calling it the future of suburban renewal. Schedule it for this afternoon. Make sure they get good shots of the city view from my office. Of course. Oh, and there's been someone calling all morning asking for you. She says she's your sister. I don't have a sister, I said without hesitation. If she calls again, have security escort her from the building. Understood. I hung up and smiled at my reflection in the window. Clara Hartwell, self-made millionaire. Clara Hartwell, real estate mogul. Clara Hartwell, the woman who turned betrayal into empire. Somewhere in the city below, Elena was learning what it felt like to be forgotten. And I had never been happier. 1 year later, I stood in my penthouse wearing a custom Armani suit, holding the deed to Henderson Valley in one hand and a glass of champagne in the other. Through my floor-to-ceiling windows, I watched the demolition crews tear down the last houses in my old neighbourhood. My grandmother's house crumbled into dust at exactly 3:47 p.m. My parents' house had fallen 2 hours earlier. Miss Hartwell, my assistant's voice came through the intercom. The Channel 7 crew is ready for your interview about the Henderson Valley grand opening. Give me 5 minutes, Katie. I walked to my telescope, a recent addition to my living room, and focused it on the construction site. The new Hartwell Commercial Plaza was already taking shape, its steel skeleton rising from the ashes of my childhood. By Christmas, it would house 12 businesses, generate $3 million annually in revenue, and employ 200 people. Progress, power, profit. My phone buzzed. A text from Detective Morrison, who'd been keeping me updated on Robert's case. Sentencing today. 8 years, no parole. Thought you'd want to know. 8 years. Elena would be 30 when he got out, assuming she waited for him. Assuming she survived that long. The interview went perfectly. I stood at my windows with the construction site visible in the background, talking about urban renewal and economic development. When the reporter asked about the displaced families, I gave my practiced response about the greater good and inevitable progress. Some critics say you specifically targeted this neighbourhood for personal reasons, the reporter pressed, that you have family connections to the area. I looked directly into the camera. I target opportunities, not people. Henderson Valley was an underperforming asset in a prime location. The families who lost their homes here will benefit from the jobs we're creating. Sometimes the best thing you can do for people is refuse to enable their failure. That evening, the story aired during prime time. I watched it from my penthouse while eating dinner prepared by my personal chef, a meal that cost more than Elena used to spend on groceries in a month. At 9 o'clock, my doorman called. "Miss Hartwell, there's someone here to see you. She says she's your mother." I looked out my window at the city lights twinkling below. "Send her up." 5 minutes later, my mother stood in my marble foyer looking like she'd aged a decade in the past year. Her hair was grey now, her clothes cheap and wrinkled. The woman who'd once dismissed my achievements as little now stood dwarfed by the empire I'd built. "Clara, Mother." I didn't invite her to sit. "I saw you on the news tonight. You were protesting the demolition. You destroyed our entire neighbourhood." "I improved it." She looked around my penthouse with obvious shock. The marble floors, the crystal chandelier, the original artwork worth more than most people's houses. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since the day you told me Elena deserved my inheritance because she needed it more than I did." Her face crumpled. "We didn't know you'd become this." "What? Successful, powerful, everything you taught me Elena deserved to be instead of me. We taught Elena to be dependent. We taught you to be strong. You thought wrong." I poured myself a glass of wine and didn't offer her one. "You taught Elena that the world owed her everything. You taught me that I had to earn my place. Congratulations, we both learned our lessons perfectly." "Elena is homeless, Clara. She's been living in her car since the house was repossessed. She has nothing." "Neither did I when I was 18. Somehow I managed. She lost her baby. And I lost my family 25 years ago. We all have our tragedies." My mother stepped closer, her eyes desperate. "She's your sister." "No, she's your daughter. There's a difference. What do you want from us? What will it take for you to help her?" I walked to my windows and looked down at the city I was conquering. "I want you to understand something. For 24 years, you asked me to sacrifice for Elena. My college fund, my car, my job recommendation, my inheritance, my trust fund, everything I earned, you gave to her because she needed it more. Clara, now she needs help again, and you're asking me to sacrifice again. Do you see the pattern? This is different. She could die out there. Then maybe she should have made better choices." I turned to face her. "Tell me, Mother, in all these years of asking me to give up everything for Elena, did you ever once ask Elena to sacrifice anything for me?" The silence stretched between us like a chasm. "I thought so. Please, I'm begging you. If not for Elena, then for your father. The stress is killing him. He had a heart attack last month. He can't work anymore. Our medical bills." "Not my problem." "You're our daughter." "Am I?" I laughed and the sound echoed off my marble walls. "Because daughters get protected, supported, celebrated. Daughters don't get treated like ATMs for their sisters' dreams. We love you, Clara. We've always loved you." "No, you loved what I could provide for Elena. There's a difference." I walked to my safe and pulled out a check. $100,000. More money than my parents had seen in their entire lives. My mother's eyes lit up with hope. "This is for Elena," I said, holding up the check. "It's enough to get her back on her feet, find an apartment, start over." "Thank you." "Oh, Clara, thank you." I tore the check in half. "But she's not getting it." My mother's face went white. "Why?" "Because Elena has never learned to solve her own problems. Because every time she fails, someone rescues her. Because the world will be a better place when she learns that actions have consequences. You're condemning your own sister to death." "I am setting her free to become the person she could have been if you'd ever bothered to parent her instead of spoiling her. I walked to my door and opened it. Goodbye, Mother. Clara, please, give Elena a message for me. Tell her that everything she's feeling right now, the fear, the desperation, the sense that the world is unfair, that's what I felt every day of my childhood. The difference is, I used those feelings to build something. She can do the same, or she can give up. Either way, it's her choice now. This isn't over. Yes, it is. After she left, I returned to my windows and looked out at my kingdom. My phone rang almost immediately. Clara? Elena's voice was broken, desperate. Mum told me you have money, that you could help me, but you won't. I don't understand. What did I ever do to you? You existed, I said simply. You existed, and they loved you more. I never asked for any of it. No, you just took it. All of it. For 24 years. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything to make it up to you. There's nothing to make up, Elena. This isn't about apologies. This is about consequences. I have nowhere to go. Figure it out. I did. I hung up and immediately blocked her number. 3 months later, I received a wedding invitation in my morning mail. Elena Rodriguez, formerly Eleanor Hartwell, was marrying someone named David Chen, a mechanic she'd met at a homeless shelter. The invitation was handwritten on cheap cardstock. I threw it away without opening it. 6 months after that, my assistant informed me that Eleanor had called asking if I'd like to meet my nephew. Apparently, she had given birth to a healthy baby boy. I don't have a nephew, I told Katie. If she calls again, remind her that I don't have a sister either. 2 years later, I stood in my penthouse during my 30th birthday party, surrounded by politicians, celebrities, and business moguls. Forbes had just named me one of the most powerful women under 35. My empire spanned 3 continents. Through my windows, I could see the Hartwell Commercial Plaza thriving in the distance. Where my grandmother's garden used to bloom, teenagers now worked their first jobs at the new businesses I'd built. Where my parents used to host barbecues, commuters grabbed coffee on their way to work. The past was gone. The future belonged to me. My assistant approached with a tablet. Miss Hartwell, there's a news article I thought you might find interesting. The headline read, "Local woman builds successful catering business from homeless shelter kitchen." The photo showed Eleanor, thinner now, harder, but smiling, standing in front of a food truck with her husband and baby. She looked tired but determined, independent, strong. For the first time in 3 years, I felt something that might have been pride. She'd finally learned to save herself. As I closed the tablet and raised my champagne glass to the window. To family, I said to the glittering city below, and to getting exactly what you deserve. In the end, we all did.